When your own daughter looks you in the eye and says you're nothing, that's the day something inside you cracks. And God help the people who did it. I still remember that night like a bruise that never fades. Snow was falling outside my apartment in Queens, the kind that turns a city into a quiet, ghostly painting. My hands were still covered in graphite from a day's work at the drafting table when the phone rang. It was Lily, my only daughter, the same girl I once carried on my shoulders through Central Park. She called to tell me she was getting married, and then laughed when I asked for an invitation. "Dad, it's just not your kind of crowd," she said, her voice all sugar and glass. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening in the comments. That was the moment the warmth drained out of me. 3 years of silence between us, and this was her comeback? A daughter too ashamed of her father to let him sit in the same room? I hung up before she could finish her little speech about how Alexander's family moves in different circles. I sat there, staring at the half-empty glass of bourbon, hearing her words echo against the walls. And that's when it hit me. She thought I was still the broke old fool she left behind. She thought I'd stay down forever, too busy licking my wounds to notice how deep she cut me. But she was wrong. Because that night, as the city lights blurred through my window, I made myself a quiet promise. I'd rise higher than she or that smug fiancé of hers could ever imagine. And when the time came, they'd both remember exactly who they decided to underestimate. They just didn't know it yet. But the next Christmas, the tables would turn. The weeks after that call felt like walking through smoke. Everything looked the same, but nothing smelled right anymore. I buried myself in work. My firm, Jacob Designs, was barely standing back then. Just me, an old laptop, and a pot of burnt coffee. But grief has a funny way of sharpening you. Every late night, every unpaid bill, every sketch torn and redrawn, it all fed the same fire. I stopped checking social media. Couldn't stand seeing her life plastered in filtered smiles and champagne glasses. Still, sometimes curiosity got me. She looked happy, or at least expensive. The kind of happiness that comes with designer shoes and someone else's credit card. I'd close the screen, sit back, and whisper, "You chose this, kid." A year later, everything changed. Out of nowhere, I landed a project that could make or break me. An upscale apartment complex in Manhattan. High stakes, tight deadlines, and investors who didn't take second chances. But I didn't fail. I thrived. Every ounce of pain turned into precision. I poured my heartbreak into glass and steel. And when the contract closed, $15 million on the table, I didn't smile. I just exhaled. 2 days later, my name hit the New York Business Post. Local architect signs landmark deal. My photo, standing in front of my new black Cadillac, hit the web like wildfire. And that's when my phone rang again. The name on the screen made me laugh. Lily. For the first time in years, she was calling me back. I didn't answer right away. I just stared at the screen, let it buzz, and whispered, "Now, let's see what you really want, sweetheart." When I finally picked up, her voice was syrup sweet, too smooth to be real. "Dad," I saw the article. "Oh my God, I'm so proud of you." Proud? That word hit like a bad joke. 3 years of silence. And suddenly she remembered she had a father. I leaned back in my chair, staring out the window of my new office overlooking Fifth Avenue. "Thanks, Lily," I said flatly. "What made you remember my number?" She giggled, nervous. "Practiced." "Don't be like that, Dad. I've missed you. Actually, I was calling because Alexander and I are getting married this Christmas. We'd love for you to come." The lie slipped through her teeth so easily I could almost see it sparkle. I played along. "Christmas, huh? That's soon." "Yeah," she said quickly. "And, things are a little tight right now. We had to change venues. You know how expensive things are." There was the hook. Money. Always money. I could almost hear Alexander in the background feeding her lines like a stage manager. I smiled into the receiver, masking the chill in my voice. "Don't worry, sweetheart. We'll talk about it soon. Maybe dinner?" She jumped at it. "Really? Oh, that would be amazing." After the call, I sat there for a long while, the city buzzing beneath me like a restless machine. The snow outside had started again, slow and quiet. I looked at the reflection in the window, a man who'd been broken once, but not this time. They thought they were pulling the strings. But the moment she said Christmas, I knew that was when the curtain would fall. Dinner was set at some pretentious rooftop place downtown. String lights, overpriced cocktails, the kind of place where people talk louder than they listen. I got there early. Old habits. She walked in 10 minutes late, all glitter and perfume, holding Alexander's arm like a trophy. He was a type you recognize immediately. Polished smile, handshake like a politician, eyes that never stopped calculating. "Dad, you look amazing," she said, kissing the air beside my cheek. I smiled back. "You too, sweetheart. And this must be Alexander." He grinned. The legend himself. "I've heard so much about your designs." "Good things, I hope," I said. He laughed the way rich boys do, too loud, too confident. They spent the first 15 minutes bragging. The honeymoon in Greece, his family's estate in Connecticut, the private investors they advised. Every sentence was a performance. I just listened, stirring my drink, nodding occasionally. When the check came, Alexander reached for his wallet, paused dramatically, then smiled. "Oh no, I forgot my card in the car." Lily gave me the helpless look, the one she used to give me when she wanted a new toy. I handed the waiter my card without a word. On the ride home, snow brushed against the windshield, and something cold settled in my chest. Their little act was too perfect, too rehearsed. The next morning, I called an old friend, Ryan Keller, private investigator, Vietnam vet, the kind of man who finds truth in the dirt. "Ryan," I said, "I need you to dig into a couple, Lily Jacobs and Alexander Moore, and don't hold back." He chuckled. "Got it. Family matter." "Something like that," I said, and as I hung up I whispered, "Let's see how deep this rabbit hole goes." Ryan didn't waste time. 3 days later, he called me from some diner in Jersey, the sound of clinking mugs and sizzling bacon behind him. "Jake, you might want to sit down for this one." Turns out Alexander Moore wasn't just broke. He was drowning. Maxed out credit cards, fake business deals, and a mountain of debt close to $300,000. The family estate in Connecticut, a rental, staged for social media photos. His consulting company, nothing but an empty LLC registered under a P.O. box. And Lily, my Lily, she wasn't just naive. She was in on it. Text messages between them. Ryan said, "Show plans to win Dad's trust and get financial help before the wedding." Every word hit like a nail in my chest. I drove out to the pier that night. The Hudson black and cold, the city lights flickering like dying stars. I stood there, letting the wind burn my face, trying to understand how my little girl had turned into a stranger. I'd given her everything I had left after her mother died: love, stability, honesty, and she sold it for a designer dress and a con artist charm. Ryan called again before midnight. "You want the files?" "Yeah," I said. "Every damn thing." He sent over the photos, screenshots, bank records, proof strong enough to crush them both. I sat there in my office, watching the evidence load on screen. Line by line, lie by lie. And then something inside me settled. The anger cooled like metal in the forge. I wasn't going to scream or beg or warn them. No, this was going to be surgical. I leaned back, lit a cigarette, and said softly to myself, "You wanted a show, Lily? Then I'll give you one you'll never forget." The next week, I played the part, the kind, forgiving father, the fool she expected. I called Lily, told her I wanted to help with the wedding. Her voice lit up like Times Square. "Really, Dad? Oh my God, that means so much." We met for brunch at a cozy spot in Brooklyn. Her choice. She showed up in a new coat that probably cost more than my first car. Alexander joined us halfway through, pretending to take urgent business calls between bites of avocado toast. I let them ramble about how stressful wedding planning was. Every complaint was another dollar sign dangling in front of me. Then Lily dropped it casually, like she wasn't reading from a script. "We've had a few financial setbacks. Just until after the wedding, of course. Alexander nodded, all charm. We'd never ask, sir, but since you're doing so well, I smiled, slow and patient. Say no more. I'll take care of everything. Consider my gift. Lily teared up on cue. Dad, I knew you still cared. Oh, I do, I said. More than you'll ever know. Inside, my pulse was steady. Calm. Controlled. I'd learned long ago that the best revenge isn't loud. It's quiet, patient, and precise. When I left the cafe, I slipped on my gloves, the winter wind biting through the city streets. I took out my phone and texted Ryan. I'm in. Time to prepare the video. He replied a minute later. Understood. You sure about this? I stared at the screen, watching a couple walk by, laughing through the snow. Yeah, I whispered. They wanted a fairy tale. Let's give them an ending they'll never forget. Ryan was old-school, grainy cameras, wiretaps, the kind of guy who believed a solid plan beats luck every time. We met in his cluttered office above a pawn shop on 10th Avenue. He poured 2 cups of burnt coffee and slid a flash drive across the table. Everything's here, he said. Calls, messages, fake invoices. Even got the bit where your son-in-law-to-be brags about bleeding the old man dry. I stare at the drive, the metal cold against my fingertips. Good work, Ryan. Now, I need one more thing. He raised an eyebrow. What's that? A show. Something public. Something they can't delete or deny. That's when the idea took root. The wedding. Christmas Eve. A perfect audience. Friends, family. Their so-called elite circle. I could already picture it. The lights, the champagne, the smug smiles. And then silence. The truth playing across a screen they'd never expect. Ryan leaned back, whistling low. You're going theatrical, huh? Just poetic, I said. They built their whole life on appearances. Let's end it the same way. We spent hours mapping it out. Hidden cameras, audio cuts, time-stamped documents. I'd narrate the opening of the video myself, calm, deliberate, almost gentle. The kind of voice that says, I warned you. By the time I left, the snow had thickened, muffling the city's noise. I walked past store windows glowing with Christmas displays, families laughing, couples holding hands. And for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like an outsider looking in, because now I had a purpose. I wasn't the broken father anymore. I was the architect of the truth, and the blueprint for their downfall was almost complete. A week before Christmas, Lily called again, this time frantic, pretending to sound desperate, but not quite pulling it off. Dad, the venue doubled their price last minute. We're short on the deposit. Could you maybe cover it? Just until the gifts come in? I almost laughed. Gifts? She still thought life worked like a wish list. I leaned back in my office chair, letting her squirm through the silence. Of course, I said finally. I'll wire the money tomorrow. What I actually sent was a check, post-dated for December 24th, the day of the wedding, the day of reckoning. That night, I drove by the venue, a luxury hall wrapped in white lights and gold ribbons, like something out of a Hallmark movie. I stood across the street, watching workers hang chandeliers and set up the massive screen behind the dance floor. I smiled. That screen would be my stage. Back home, Ryan and I finalized the video. It opened with Lily's laughter, pulled from an old voicemail, back when she was a kid, before greed took over. Then it cut sharply to her new voice, cold and calculating. He'll never see it coming. We layered in screenshots, call logs, bank transfers, every ugly truth stitched together with Christmas carols softly playing underneath, the kind of contrast that makes your stomach turn. When the final frame hit, a family photo from years ago, with the caption, "Some gifts you don't deserve," I knew it was perfect. Ryan looked at me, his face half lit by the glow of the monitor. You sure you want to show her that? I nodded. Yeah, it's the only way she'll ever see who she became. And under my breath, I added, and who I became because of her. Christmas Eve arrived draped in white, the kind of snow that muffles even the city's heartbeat. I put on my best suit, dark navy, the same one I'd worn to her high school graduation. Funny how life circles back. As I adjusted my tie, I caught my reflection in the mirror, Gray hair, sharp eyes, no tremor in my hands. For the first time in years, I didn't see the man she pitted. I saw control. The venue shimmered like a diamond. Crystal chandeliers, champagne fountains, string quartet humming Silent Night. Guests glided enwrapped in fur and perfume. Smiles painted on like masks. Lily spotted me first. Her face froze for half a heartbeat before she plastered on that practiced grin. "Dad, you came." "Wouldn't miss it for the world," I said, kissing her cheek. Alexander appeared, smug in his tailored tux. "Glad you could join us, sir. Means a lot to the family." "Of course," I said. Family's everything. They had no clue that Ryan was already backstage, coordinating with the DJ, swapping the wedding montage file with our masterpiece. The moment was set right after the toast, before the first dance. As dinner rolled out, I played my role perfectly. The humble, proud father. Toasted, laughed, even teared up when they announced the first slideshow. Lily clapped, Alexander smirked. And as the lights dimmed and the projector hummed to life, I whispered to myself, "Merry Christmas, sweetheart." The first image flickered on the screen. Lily, laughing at age 10, holding a gingerbread house. The crowd smiled. She turned to me, glowing with nostalgia. Then came the second clip. Her voice, older now, colder. "He's too dumb to suspect anything." The room fell silent, and I leaned back, watching the truth take center stage. For the first few seconds, nobody breathed. The laughter on screen sliced through the quiet like broken glass. Lily's voice echoed over the speakers, dripping with mockery. "Once he wires the money, we'll be free. I mean, he owes me that much, doesn't he?" Whispers rippled across the tables. Glasses paused midair. I could see Alexander's mother, elegant, stiff as marble, turned toward her son, confusion twisting into disgust. Lily's face drained of color. "Dad, what is this?" she whispered, her voice trembling. The video rolled on. Screenshots, texts, voicemails, every lie, every manipulation laid bare in high definition. Alexander cursing me out in a message, Lily laughing, saying, "He's too desperate for love to see the truth." Then my voice filled the room, calm and steady. "This isn't revenge. This is honesty. For years, I blamed myself for losing my daughter. Tonight, I just wanted her to see who she chose to become." The lights flickered back on. No music, no applause, just the sound of humiliation breathing through the crowd. Alexander stood up, shouting, "That's fake. It's all edited." Ryan, standing by the bar, played the final card, an email from Alexander's account flashing on the big screen. Wire transfers, debts, a fake inheritance letter. Proof. The audience gasped. His fiancée's friends turned away. His mother slapped him, sharp and deliberate. Lily's sob broke the silence like a gunshot. I stood up slowly, buttoned my jacket, and looked at her, really looked at her. "You wanted my attention," I said softly. "Now you have it." And as security escorted Alexander out, faces turned toward me. Not with pity this time, but respect tinged with shock. The architect had just redesigned the room. The chaos that followed felt almost biblical. Guests scattered like pigeons in a storm. The string quartet stopped mid-note, the violin's last echo hanging in the air like guilt itself. Alexander shoved a waiter, shouting something about lawyers and defamation. His mother wasn't having it. She tore the engagement ring off Lily's hand and threw it across the floor. "You disgraced us," she hissed before storming out into the snow. Lily stood there frozen, mascara bleeding down her cheeks. "Dad, please, this is what it looks like," she cried, her voice cracking. I stepped closer, slow, steady. "It looks like exactly what it is," I said. "A daughter who traded her soul for a tuxedo and a lie." Her knees gave out. She dropped to the floor in her white dress, sobbing into trembling hands. Cameras flashed. Phones recorded. The story of the perfect wedding was now the scandal of the season. And I didn't need to lift a finger. Truth did the heavy lifting. Ryan caught my eye from across the room, gave a subtle nod, and slipped out. His job was done. Mine, not yet. I knelt beside her, my voice barely above a whisper. "You wanted a fairy tale, Lily. But even Cinderella had to earn her ending. She reached for me, but I stepped back. "Not tonight," I said. "Not like this." As I turned to leave, I heard her whisper my name, small and broken. Outside, the cold hit like clarity. Snow fell harder, blanketing the chaos behind me. I could hear muffled shouting inside, the sound of a kingdom crumbling. And for the first time in years, I felt light, like the weight she'd left in me had finally melted away. But the night wasn't over yet. The reckoning had just begun. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I drove through the quiet streets of Manhattan, the city glowing gold beneath the snow. Every traffic light reflected off the Cadillacs so like memories I couldn't quite wash away. Somewhere between Broadway and 72nd, I pulled over, turned off the engine, and just sat there listening to the silence hum. That's when it hit me. Revenge had always been a younger man's game. But what I'd done, it wasn't vengeance. It was balance. My phone buzzed. 12 missed calls. "Lily." I let them ring. Then a message popped up. "Dad, please. I need to talk to you." I stared at it for a long time before typing back. "Tomorrow, my office, 10 a.m. When I walked in the next morning, she was already there. No makeup, no mask. Just a scared, small version of the woman she pretended to be. "I'm sorry," she said before I could even sit down. "I thought I could fix it." You thought wrong." I cut in. "You didn't need fixing. You needed truth." Tears welled in her eyes. "Everyone hates me now. Alexander's gone. The press." "Let them," I said. "You built your life on lies. Let them fall. Then rebuild." She looked up at me, desperate. "How? I have nothing left." I studied her for a long moment. The daughter I'd lost was still in there, buried under years of pride. "You start small," I said, "with honesty, with work. My firm's hiring an assistant. Low pay, long hours." "Interested?" Her mouth fell open. "You'd let me after everything?" "I'm not letting you," I said quietly. "I'm challenging you." And for the first time in years, she didn't argue. She just nodded silently. Her first day at the office was awkward. My team knew who she was. They'd seen the viral clips, read the headlines. "Architect exposes daughter's wedding scam." Not exactly the kind of family legacy you frame on the wall. But no one said a word. New York has its rules. Don't ask, don't stare, don't get in the way of a redemption arc. Lily kept her head down, filed blueprints, sorted invoices, made coffee no one drank. For weeks, she came in early, left late, spoke little. But I noticed the small things, the tremor in her hands when she answered phones, the quiet apologies when she made mistakes. Humility doesn't come easy. One evening, I stayed late reviewing project drafts. The office was empty except for her. She knocked softly on my door. "Dad," she said. It still sounded strange hearing that again. "You don't have to stay this late," I told her without looking up. "I'm not staying because I have to," she said. "I just don't want to go home yet." I finally looked up. Her eyes were tired but clear. "No more gloss, no more pretense. I keep thinking about that video," she whispered. "About what you said, that it wasn't revenge, it was honesty." I leaned back in my chair. "Do you understand it now?" She nodded slowly. "Yeah, honesty hurts worse than hate. But it heals too." Something in me unclenched then. Maybe it was the way she said it. Not defensive, not ashamed, just true. "Good," I said. "Then maybe we can build something new. Together this time." She smiled faintly, wiped a tear, and whispered, "Merry Christmas, Dad." And for the first time in a long time, the words didn't hurt. Winter lingered, slow and gray. The world had moved on from the scandal, as it always does, chasing the next story. But in my office, something rare was happening. Quiet redemption. Lily started to find her rhythm. She stopped hiding behind guilt and started learning, drafting layouts, coordinating clients, even arguing politely with contractors. She was rough around the edges, but sharp, the same sharpness her mother had. Sometimes I catch her studying old project files, the ones from before she left. "You used to draw by hand," she said one day, tracing the pencil lines on a faded sketch. "I know you still kept these." I smiled. Some designs take years to finish. That night, I found her sitting at her desk long after hours, blueprint paper spread out, a mug of cold coffee beside her, trying to redesign the Brooklyn townhouse model. I asked. She looked up, startled. "It's your old project." I thought maybe it could be modernized. I studied her work. The lines weren't perfect, but the intent was careful, hopeful, honest. "You're learning," I said. She grinned softly. "From the best." That hit me harder than I expected. Before leaving, she paused at the door. "Dad, you ever regret it? The wedding, the video, all of it." I took a long breath. "Regret? No. Pain? Yeah. But sometimes pain's the only thing strong enough to rebuild the foundation." She nodded, eyes glistening. As she walked out, I noticed the snow starting again outside the window. Soft, steady, familiar. For the first time since her mother died, the silence in the room felt peaceful, like the storm had finally passed, and the rebuilding had truly begun. By March, the city had thawed, and so had we. The tension between us turned into rhythm. Shared coffee, quiet jokes, even the occasional argument that ended in laughter instead of slammed doors. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. One afternoon, a client came in, a smug developer type who'd read too many motivational books. He looked at Lily, then at me. "So this is the daughter from the Christmas Story, huh? The one who tried to hustle you." He chuckled like it was harmless gossip. Lily froze, eyes wide, humiliated. I stood slowly, hands in my pockets. "That's right," I said. "And she's also the one who saved your blueprint from collapsing last week. So maybe show some respect before you embarrass yourself." The man stammered an apology, red-faced. Lily blinked at me, stunned. When he left, she whispered, "You didn't have to do that." "Yes," I said, "I did." That night, she left a small box on my desk. Inside was my old drafting pencil, sharpened, polished like new. A note lay beneath it. "You built everything from nothing. I'm just trying to learn how." For a long time, I couldn't move. That pencil had been there when I'd drawn our first home, when her mother was still alive. It was more than wood and lead. It was legacy. I placed it back in my pocket, the same way I used it when she was little. And for the first time in decades, I felt something I thought I'd lost forever. Pride. Not in my work. Not in revenge. In her. But deep down, I knew one thing was still missing. Closure. A final act to end the story we'd both been trapped in. And fate had a way of giving me exactly that. It came one spring afternoon, unexpected, like all endings do. I was closing up the office when Lily stepped in, holding a small wrapped box. "Before you go," she said, smiling nervously, "I made something." Inside was a miniature model of a house, our old home from Queens. Every detail was perfect. The cracked porch step, Mom's rose bushes, even a crooked mailbox with our last name hand-painted across it. "You remembered." I whispered. She nodded. "I wanted you to know. I finally understand why you did what you did, why it had to hurt." I swallowed hard, the weight of years pressing in. "Lily, you don't owe me anything." "I know," she said, "but I owe myself something to live honestly, to earn what I took for granted." We stood there in silence, the evening sun spilling gold across the desk. Then she added softly, "You once said pain rebuilds a foundation. I just wanted you to see the new one I'm building." I smiled, and for the first time, it wasn't the smile of a man guarding his heart. It was peace, real quiet peace. Later that night, I walked home through the city. The same streets where I once plotted revenge now felt lighter. Street musicians played, "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas," even though it was April. I stopped to listen, laughing under my breath. Because that's the thing about revenge. It's never about destroying someone else. It's about reclaiming the pieces of yourself they broke. And as I reached my door, I placed that little model on the windowsill. The porch light glowed through its tiny windows, warm and steady. For the first time in years, I whispered into the quiet, We're home again. If you like this story, please like this video. Subscribe to the channel and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the right.